Live. Hi, thanks for joining. Trying the web stream. Streaming live makes it easier to, I don't have to wait for something to download or upload after I recorded it on my video camera. This makes it a lot easier. Quicker anyways. Socialism is merely the deliberate intervention by the government on the ordering of society. That's it. That's really all there is to it. I think the people try to make it a little more complicated than it needs to be. It's a combination of two words: social, and then the suffix ism. Why is the suffix ism put on words? It simply is, but is something. And the letter M. So drop the letter M, take the word is, put that in front of the word, so that it has it is a suffix of. In between those two words, put the word for. Then you get a good kind of better idea what is the nature of why is an ism put in after any given word. So in case of socialism, take the word is, drop the letter M, so cut the is off, put in front of social, put the word for in between. Is for social. That's all it is. It's understood who's doing this for social or for society. The government. And now, so anytime the government is acting on the social organization of a civil society, that's socialism. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't have to be economic. Here's an example. Curfew. Now, sometimes governments will impose a curfew. Sometimes it's for a civil emergency on everybody, a curfew at a certain time. But they also can, some local municipalities impose a curfew on teenagers. They have to be home by a certain time, or they can't be out, or they can't be out in the streets after a certain hour. That would be in a socialist law, because the government is imposing a rule for the betterment of society. That's the goal, anyways. Whereas, sometimes households, families, they impose their own curfew on their children. Typically, you have to be home by a certain time. They'll tell their teenagers. That's not socialism, because it's not the public government that is imposing that is intervening, that is setting these rules for the betterment of that household. It's still you can say a household, families have their own government in a way, but it's not a public government. So socialism, that implies that it's the public government that is intervening, setting the rules to order society in a certain way for the betterment and help and protect society. So if it's the government it's imposing a curfew, then that's socialism. If it's a family, then it's not. But either way, now you can look back at the government, what they did following the financial collapse, and Lehman Brothers collapsed, and so on. Then there's all these bailouts and the TARP funds, and also there's the bank bailouts. That was socialism. Because they needed to add liquidity into the markets. That's the idea. That's what they thought, and so that's what the government did. It was for the benefit of society, because they're afraid, that there was going to be a collapse of the economic system. that we live in, and that economic system is an important part of our society. And so there's intervention done for the benefit of the social system that we live in. Yeah, socialism is for society. That was the way the government bailouts of the banks was done. That was the reason, anyways. Whether or not that was needed to be done, that's a whole nother matter. But I just wanted to point out, yes, it is socialism. But so that whole idea I came up with to produce this this video essay was, I keep hearing these people, talking heads, politicians, and so on the media, mainstream media. Usually they say they're for capitalism, but they're against socialism, and they give all these reasons why they claim they're against socialism. And I don't think they really understand what socialism is. They don't understand that the government bailouts of the banks, that was socialism. All these laws and rules to protect capitalist systems are socialisms. For instance, patent protections, copyright, trademark protections. That's all the government intervening, setting rules for how businesses operate. It's regulations, with the idea that without these protections, presume that's whether or not this is true or not, but that's the goal, though. The reason they give for imposing these rules like patent protection is for the benefit of what? Society. Is for social, or is for society. They think that the government people, the politicians, claim that without these patent protections and trademark protections, there won't be the incentive to invest all this into the research and development of a product. And these products presumably help society. So they impose these laws and rules. So it just doesn't make any sense to say you're for capitalism because you're against socialism. It makes no sense whatsoever. Unless you want to, especially if it doesn't make any sense whatsoever if these people, and usually they do, these people say they're for capitalism and against socialism. Usually they say they're against completely unfettered, untethered, unregulated capitalism. But if that's why it doesn't make sense, because if they implying they do want regulations and rules on the capitalist system, then they want socialism. So it's not a mutually exclusive systems. What it is a matter of is what form and and how much of these different types of socialism are going to be implemented. To what degree, and what kind of form is it going to take? The socialist system. How is the government going to intervene? Are they going to intervene to bail out banks and protect patent rights, trade, intellectual property, all these different intellectual property? Continue to do that? Is the government going to go? Or is it? And then there's other forms of socialism, like Social Security, Medicare. Most people kind of associate with socialism, but they are they against that? Are they for it? Who knows? I'm for it, but I think there should be expansion in some areas, and there should be maybe less socialist intervention in other areas, specifically the war on drugs, the criminalization of any substance. I think that should be ended completely. But you name it, whenever the government decides to do something deliberately, directly on society, that's socialism. Like the public roads, public sidewalks, parks, saying that utilities, that's socialism. For instance, like the Public Utilities Commission of a utility, or like a private utility, that's socialism. When they say they cap a price, the PUC caps the price on the utility, how much they can charge, and also they mandate that the utility must provide a minimum amount of service to the customer. So yeah, that's socialism. But when it's kind of lopsided, they'll say, for instance, in the medicines, drugs, and medical devices system, where there's this imbalance, where there's socialist intervention that says, that protects the drug manufacturer that has a patent right on some medicine. They don't. The government says nobody else can make that medicine, but there's an imbalance where the government does not say you can only charge so much for this medicine. So it's it's like lopsided in favor of the capitalist enterprise there, and so it's lopsided for the big pharma corporation without protecting the citizen, the patients. So that it's either way there's socialism involved there. But the question is, what's going to be a fair and just implementation of socialism, and how is it going to be done? But that's not is often not debated to a large degree. So I think I just wanted to be, I think I more or less got my point across. I hope it's a false choice between capitalism and socialism. It's much more complicated than that. There's just very many different forms of socialism, of the government intervening to either help in a balance between helping a business and helping individuals, helping the environment and the workers, protect the workers and the environment. Yeah, so it's all sorts of different facets to that. That's all I wanted to say. Well, thanks for watching.